Welcome to the Jones Zone, a podcast by Darryl and JJ Jones.
Hope you're going to like this video. We got a bunch of videos in our video bank, everything to do with real estate. So hope you're going to like it. If you do, subscribe for more and check out some other videos.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Jones Zone. Today, we're going to tackle the big, beautiful bill. Pat Leung is, she actually does my taxes. I can't recommend her highly enough. She ain't free, but she's worth 10 times more than you pay her. That's for sure. What's the acronym? I guess they're saying OBBBA, just to shorten up the old big, beautiful bill act.
The One Big Beautiful Bill Act, OBA.
What are the key pillars of this bill?
Yeah, so July 4th this year, President Trump signed into law the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. We call it OBA for short, because it's a tongue twister. Brings about a ton of changes and it impacts all walks of life, from individuals, families, seniors, to business owners, homeowners, real estate investors, and so forth. So there's something in store for everyone. You know, some people have a tiny bit of changes, and others are going to see some huge impact.
How does the big bill impact everyday taxpayers, like the individuals, families, and seniors?
Yeah, so OBA brings sweeping changes for individuals and families. Some are major tax deductions to new ways to build wealth to everyone's family. And so here are a handful of tax planning opportunities. So we'll start with the first one, which is a new one. This is a new write-off for folks wanting to buy a car, and they get to deduct up to $10,000 per year in the car loan interest. But caveat, this is only effective this year through 2028. People can deduct up to $10,000 per year on a qualifying car loan interest. There is a caveat, and it starts phasing out. That means people are going to start losing this benefit once their modified adjusted gross income goes above $100,000 for single filers, or $200,000 for joint filers. Also, more limitations. This is for a car for personal use, so it's not for a business use. It could include a car, a minivan, SUV, pickup truck, motorcycles weighing under 14,000 pounds, which is pretty big. And like I said, it must be personal use, and it must undergo final assembly in the U.S. Doesn't mean that the entire car must be made here. Just the final portion of the assembly must be completed here in the U.S.
How is one fine? Does one just ask the automaker?
I think even Honda's a Japanese car, but I think the final assembly for Honda is made in the U.S. So you just ask the auto manufacturer where a particular car has the final assembly. And so this is a game changer. You know, we've not seen this deduction. I haven't. I've been doing this can't say my entire life, but for several decades. And this is the first time I've seen a deduction for car loan interest.
This is going to help out a lot of people that may need the help. In other words,
yes.
Making less than $100,000 or less than $200,000.
If they are contemplating about buying a car, they should look into this. And it doesn't apply to a car that they've already owned. So, fortunately, I think the government is trying to incentivize people to do more purchases and stimulate the economy.
Yeah, the car industry is probably loving this.
The auto industry, and since you mentioned that, there are some, this is a winner, but a losing aspect for the auto winner is that the EV, electric vehicle audit credits, are going to expire September 30th.
What were those before? So those were any electric cars?
Like people buy Teslas or any electric vehicle, they are going to get a credit that they can use to reduce their taxes dollar per dollar up to $7,500 in their tax return. So those are going to go away September 30th this year.
What other tax incentives? So overtime. What's the bill with overtime?
Yeah, so when President Trump was running at that point, he was touting, hey, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips. Here's how it works. Again, if this applies to a window of 2025 to 2028, folks will get no tax on overtime. They can write off, basically tax-free, $12,500 in qualify overtime pay. Again, with an income restriction of 150,000 for single filers or 300,000 for joint filers. For tips, the tax-free portion is up to $25,000 on qualified tip income. So on the overtime, there is some debate right now. Overtime is basically time and a half or 2 times, right, for holidays.
I was going to ask you also what qualifies for overtime? Over 40 hours a week, over an 8-hour day, holidays.
Yes.
What exactly qualifies for overtime?
I think that goes to state law, but let's take, for example,
Okay.
California. Overtime is basically, payment wise, you get paid time and a half. If folks work during federal holidays, it could be 2 times. There is a discussion, what is overtime pay? Is it the entire time and a half or 2 times? Or is it just the portion over the 1 time? So basically, somebody making, say, $20 an hour, overtime would give them $30 an hour. There is some reading that the overtime portion is only the $10, which is the $10 above the $20 base instead of the entire $30. So there's going to be some more guidance coming up on that aspect. On the tips, the restriction to prevent people from all industry now paying everybody on tips only.
I was just thinking the same thing. I thought, I can have my clients just tell me it's a tip.
Yeah.
That would
Darryl
be
said,
nice.
"No, I don't collect commission. I only collect tip."
Yeah.
So there is a restriction. This is only applicable to industry that are customarily receiving tips. The hospitality, restaurant workers, Uber drivers, right, that are customarily getting tips. Then those tips could qualify for up to $25,000 tax free. It's huge for people who rely on tip as income.
No, it's huge. It's funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine. They're asking for tips and everything nowadays. I mean, you go to, someone was saying they went to the automated machine at McDonald's
Oh my
and
gosh.
it asked for a tip. An automated machine asked for a tip. My goodness. And every time I go to the grocery store, well, maybe that's a donation, but like you go to a fast food, like I think it's an acai bowl and it says tip. And I went to one the other day and they didn't even give you an option of no tip. It was, do you want to tip 10%, 15%, or 20%, something like that.
And there's
Yogurt,
no option for no tip.
there wasn't. I mean, I'm sure I could have said something, but they almost shame you into giving a tip. And a yogurt shop, I think a yogurt shop is the same way. I'm thinking, when did this happen? I might have to reevaluate my career choice. No, I'm kidding.
Tips. So for tips and overtime, there is that income limitation, right? 150 for single filers and 300 for joint filers. So if they go above that, they're going to start losing it. So this is a critical that they have to not be thinking that it is free, no restriction. Folks should keep in mind these limitation and plan in advance with their accountants. Don't just wait until April 15, dump the whole ton of paperwork to the accountant and say, here, figure this out. So, it's kind of like, hey, if you want to lose weight, you got to plan this out and don't overeat, exercise more. So similarly, if you want to enjoy these new tax benefit, monitor that, plan way, way in advance. Like even right now with your accountant to say, hey, this is what I plan, this is what I hear.
Hey, give me an example. I mean, are you talking about maybe, for example, a bartender or waiter writing off some of their clothes purchases? I mean, are there anything? What would be a good example?
Well, they can do like retirement plan. They can start contributing to bring down that income, right? I'm not to say like stop working once you get to that income level, but there are other things that you can do. Perhaps take advantage of, if they are homeowners, this is where we're going to dive in soon. There are new other tax benefits, cookie cutter answer for everyone. Everybody's different. And just like, when you're selling a home, every single home is different. They could even be in Orange County. There's tons of cookie cutter home, but once people live in it and they start making changes, there are no 2 homes that are alike.
Right.
So again, there's no 2 taxpayers that are alike. So they could do different things. Perhaps if they are needing a car, wanting to buy an EV car, they should look into it. Or if they're a homeowner, look into maximizing their home deduction. So different things that they could do to bring down that income below that phase out threshold. Otherwise, they're going to lose these benefits. And this applies not just individual taxpayers, but business taxpayers.
For example, so if someone's making, you said up to $300,000, and just to kind of give a brief explanation for easy math purposes, and they pay $30,000 in interest in their mortgage that year, then and they made 330,000, that brings it down to 300,000, and they get to save all their tips as far as the taxes. Just
Right.
kind of basic example.
Right. Or if they're still a little bit over, then perhaps look at retirement contributions. They get a dollar for dollar reduction on the income wise on the retirement contribution. At that point, you're paying yourself to your future retirement as opposed to paying the government. Why not do that? Government is giving you a tax write off for funding your own retirement.
Yeah, and W-2, any employees can do that.
Yes.
Well, obviously, that's what you're saying. It just has to be set up. What is that? How do you set that up? I mean, I have one too, so I kind of know, but I'm letting our audience know.
There are different ways. You can, a lot of folks who at their work, perhaps their work might sponsor a 401k retirement plan, participate in that. A lot of people don't realize that they can max it out. Or if they don't have that at work, they can still do an individual retirement account, which is commonly known as an IRA, and knock off a few more taxable dollars on that and bring their income down to a threshold where they can fully maximize these write-offs. And we're just getting started on this. There's a lot more that they can do.
Just to specify, these are folks that are over, in this specific conversation, over $300,000 tips.
For joint filers.
Employees. Okay.
For joint filers, $150 for single filers.
All right. Yeah, my daughter works at, I think it's Red Oven or one of the pizza places, and I asked her, so how much you making tips? $5. $9 was her record. So anyway, may I digress. What about child and dependent care tax credit limits for 2026?
Families with kids, they get now a boost, $1,500 for one child or $3,000 for two or more kids for the child independent care credits. And that's starting next year, 2026.
People that have to have child care, you get a tax write-off. You get to write that off now.
Right. So
that's huge.
It is. I mean, okay, let's expand on that. So this applies to families with kids. Child care could mean paying a babysitter or folks with infants paying a daycare center to care for your kid while you're at work. But also, people don't always forget in the summer, if you put your kids in like summer camp so that, because they're out of school, parents have to care for them 9 to 5. And for those who have to work, that's going to be hard. So families then find a way, put the kids in summer camp, whatever it might be. That also qualifies as childcare. It is up to $1,500 for one kid or $3,000 for two or more kids. I would say people do that and they don't remember about it. I would say keep receipts of all these childcare expenses. And in some companies, folks that work for larger corporations, their employers sometimes sponsor what's called a dependent care credit or benefit. They can also participate in that and get that benefit.
Now, what about seniors? For seniors, we got deductions.
Before I forget, that one is the child care credit, but there's also a child tax credit for the sake of just having a kid. So that's been bumped up to $2,200 per child.
Let's explain credit though, just so, because there are some differences between the word credit and deductions, right? Meaning the $2,200, for example, tax credit, that means you literally get $2,200 or you save in taxes, opposed to a write-off. Let's say if you write off $2,200, then you really only save, if you're on a 35% tax bracket, you would save 35% of $2,200.
Right, exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Right, exactly. That, for example, like if you owe 10 grand in taxes, $2,000 credit would bring dollar per dollar down, leaving you 8,000 that you would owe in taxes. To answer your question about seniors, so there was also the thing about like, hey, no tax on Social Security. Well, that didn't quite happen. But what did materialize was an extra $6,000 for seniors, and same window, 2025 to 2028. And this is for individuals 65 or older. Also, income limitation. Single filers, income limited to 75 grand, or joint filers at 150.
Wow, this is really benefiting those that are probably a little bit more in need.
Seniors on fixed income, their income may not be high, so that income threshold is lower. So if they qualify, then they get $6,000 additional deductions.
Okay, I'm reading here a Trump account for kids under
Yeah,
18
yeah,
starting in 2026.
yeah. So there's a new thing in an effort to encourage savings, right? I think at this point there's a lot of news in the media about Americans not having enough savings, as the baby boomers reach retirement. And so, in an effort to encourage now the younger population to start beefing up their retirement, I mean, the biggest benefit to the younger folks is time. It's not a big dollar, it's time. The sooner they start packing away that retirement or the savings and let it grow over time, it could be a nominal amount and be an overwhelming retirement bucket.
After they get to be, once they're older, they mature 50 years old.
Yes.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
You talked about youth and wealth. And someone that once said, I heard, I think Warren Buffett would probably give away all of his money if he could be 20 years old again. So, I mean, there's some value in youth. I saw a chart about him, and it shows the incredible wealth building later on in life, where it's it's kind of like what was it, if you start off with a penny and you double it every day for a month, you end up with some astronomical amount on the 30th day. I think over $1 million, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So this new Trump account, brand new, it starts 2026. So, people should read up on it and start planning for this. 2026, this is applicable to kids under 18. So under the Trump account, now parents, relatives, and others can contribute up to $5,000 every year towards the child's future education, home purchase, entrepreneurial, expenses, whatever.
Can the parents contribute pre-tax dollars or post-tax dollars?
This is like a Roth, and then top of that, the government will seed it with $1,000.
Okay, so post-tax dollars.
Yes, it will grow tax-free, actually. So it's like a Roth. It will go tax until the child reaches 18.
And the government adds it, gives you $1,000. For example, if someone is a parent to a 5-year-old, I open an account, I give them $5,000 to put in there. I've already paid taxes on that $5,000, but my child gets the $5,000. The government throws in $1,000, and then that can grow for not eternity, but for 50 years, tax-free. And after 50 years, if that's worth $20 million, as of right now, that doesn't get taxed.
That's the benefit of a tax-free account.
Wow. Right there. Everybody should subscribe to this channel just for that advice right there. That's $1 million value on information.
Like I said, there's a lot in store for families to help them build wealth, not just for the parents, but for the younger generation. Get them started soon. I once saw, you mentioned Buffett. I once, being a tax geek, I pulled his tax return. I didn't steal it. He did and publish it through an article. And I once saw his tax return. When he was a kid, he delivered newspaper. The old generation, they deliver.
I delivered newspapers, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ride a bike and then throw?
Yeah.
So that's what he did. That's what he did. He saved his money and he invested. One of his very first tax returns.
I forgot to do that part of it, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. He had, I think it was easily $1,000 of dividend income.
When he was a kid or when he turned 18?
No, it was when he was a really young kid.
Just because he started investing at such a young age.
Yes. And that's the point of this. You don't need a lot. I mean, people say, I'll put in more. I'll put in more. When I make more money, I'll put in $5,000, $10,000. You don't need to get to that much. You can even start with $100, right? And just let it grow. And over time, like you said, with the investments, every few years, there's a formula. Depending on the rate of return, it will double based on whatever that rate is every so many years. So if you help a very young child start the investment, build their retirement portfolio, it will easily double and keep doubling until in their adult years, and even before their retirement, they will have a very healthy amount.
I'm just reminded it's funny when my nieces and nephews were born, what I wanted to do was I invested $1,500 each. I was thinking to myself, that's $50 for birthday, $50 for Christmas.
Yeah.
Every year I've got Christmas and birthdays taken care of for the next 15 years.
Yeah.
And then when I showed up for the party, I said, remember, you got a stock account. It's growing, it's growing, growing. So this would be a perfect scenario for something like that.
Yes.
And then you don't have to pay them buying any gifts. So for nieces and nephews
Yeah,
for the next 15 years or more.
Another story, like I remember in not high school, sorry, in college. Now we're all like starting students in college, but I remember one classmate doing really well, and I'm like, hey, what's the secret here? Do like your parents make a ton of money or something? She's like, no. In fact, she's raised by a single mom. The difference is like, what you're doing with your niece nephew. She said that on her birthdays and parties and Christmas and whatever, her mom would say, don't buy her gifts. Here's an account. You can put money into there. And then with that money, her mom would ask her, hey, so you got this money. We can now invest it. What do you want to buy? And so being a child, what does she know other than Disney? They bought Disney stocks.
God bless her. You can get a QR code probably, and someone could do the QR code and just send $100 right into her account.
By the time she started college, she had more than enough. And then she was, having a nice apartment. She didn't have to worry. She just focused all on her studies. And meanwhile, like all of us were working part-time, trying to budget work and studies and maintaining good grades. But she was in golden land, and with a huge amount already invested, taken care of, well thought out by her mom, well planned out.
Good habits.
Yes.
Start off with good habits. What about non-deductible donations?
Yeah, this is a new shocker. Okay, so first off, for folks who don't itemize and make donations of like $1,000, $2,000, they can still deduct it above the line. That means they don't have to itemize. But for high income earners and people who donate a lot, this is where it starts to hit them. And I don't understand this new law. I don't understand the reason behind it. I understand the law. Here's how it plays out. The first 0.5% of one's adjusted gross income becomes non-deductible when it comes time to donation. Say, for example, if I made $200,000, okay, 0.5% comes out to $1,000. If I were to make a donation of, let's say, $5,000 to different charities, because of this new law starting next year, 2026, the first 0.5% of my adjusted gross income, $200,000, which comes out to $1,000, that first $1,000 becomes non-deductible. Only the amounts above that threshold would be deductible.
And that's for any income level?
Yes.
So they've kind of removed the first 0.5% of your donations being tax deductible.
0.5% of your adjusted gross income becomes non-deductible. It's like a threshold where it becomes non-deductible. So the higher your income, the more this impacts you. And there is a solution for that. There's a workaround for that.
Let's hear the workaround.
Yeah, you can then do what's called bunching. You would make the donation every other year, right? So you would skip a year. So then you're not impacted by this new limitation, and set up what's called a donor advised fund. You can do that with many financial institutions. It's kind of like your little mini private foundation. So you can make a donation, say like, let's say I like to do 5,000 donation every year. So instead of doing 5,000 every year, come 2026, we can do 10 grand into this fund. And when I donate it into this fund, I get the 10 grand right off in 2026. Now it sits into this donor advised fund, this donation bank account. Come 2027, I can still have, if I still have money in there, I can still write donation checks to different charity, but I don't make any more donation in 2027 into this bank account. So I would escape this 0.5% limitation in the years I don't make that big donation.
Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, please subscribe for more.